Hello and happy new year. It's been so long since we've been on a stream, and what a great topic for our first stream of the year is, can 2022 be different, or what would it take for it to be different? Welcome everyone, thank you for joining us. Heather, how you
Yay,
doing? It's
hello.
hello. And how, well, it's I feel like I want to catch up with you because we haven't streamed in so long, but like just I know you've had a lot going on with all kinds of new things coming up in Access, and there's this huge push for Global Bars Day, which is coming up just this Saturday with a slogan like "What if 2022 could be different?" and kind of giving people that hope and that possibility of like a different possibility with the upcoming year. How does that? I just love how all the effort that Access has really put out to that and making one day have all this potency around. Let's have a different possibility this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching Dr. Dane here, the co-creator of Access Consciousness, on a Facebook Live earlier today, and he was talking about how each Access Global Bars Day has gotten bigger, and there's more of a sense of like the whole world is going to change on Saturday for Global Bars Day with so many people, so many thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people running bars around the world.
Yeah, and so just to back up for a moment, if people aren't familiar with it, every year, it's kind of like the holiday for Access in a way. It's Global Bars Day,
Yeah.
and you can sign up on the. I will post a link here. I'll grab the link on the Access site. You can sign up on accessconsciousness.com, and there's like programming all day where they're doing live streams of different content from Access. But the real cool thing is all over the world, and we have one local here in Cleveland, and I'm sure Heather has local ones there. There's practitioners and facilitators that are hosting these events where you can come and just get your bars run. No obligation to give anything back for that. It's just like the gift of receiving bars, the gift of receiving. Like that is so foreign in our country sometimes and around the world. Like what would it take for you to truly receive? That's what Global Bars Day is really about, is pausing and actually allowing yourself to receive. And in that space of receiving, what else is possible going into the new year?
Yeah, and I mean, even if there isn't, well, I mean, first off, if you're in the Houston area, you can come live and be in the studio audience or get your bars run. There's an event space there in Houston. There's going to be people on the ground there to run your bars. Or if you're a practitioner or facilitator, you can come in and be part of the ground crew for that. So it's so exciting. So there's a lot of possibilities. And you can also just tune into the live stream that Hank mentioned and hear some things about this amazing way to open the door to more nurturance, more peace, more receiving.
Yeah, and I'll tell you too, there's a reason why Access is really like the fastest growing movement. I'm calling it a movement now. It's not a healing
Yeah.
modality per se. It's a movement of living life differently. And one of the things that I think is so beautiful, and I think it's in more than just the bars manual, but it talks about how one of the purposes of Access is to create a greater set of possibilities so that all humankind can thrive. And like just that, like what is your desire? What world would you like to see 5 years from now, 1 year from now? And what could your role be if you were truly allowing yourself to be in this world? And I'm about to mention my favorite book, and I think one of Heather's favorite books too is by Dr. Dane here,
Yes.
Being You, Changing the World. And he talks in that about like, what if the greatest gift you could be to the world is to be 100% your authentic self? And the first step of that is to really open up to the gift of receiving, as because sometimes we have a hard time even receiving ourselves. So like receiving is like such a huge key, and bars really starts to unlock your willingness to receive and the manner in which you receive.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I mean, when you mentioned that part of the bars manual, the manual from the Access Consciousness Bars class, I just totally relaxed. And because that's the invitation of that class. It's like what could be really created from a greater space of relaxation in your body, in your life.
Yeah, truly. And just starting to choose, like that's also what this day is about. Like don't just think about it like, oh, I wonder if I should go. Like no, Gary says it a lot. Like people ask him a question, and he's just like, they were like, what should I do about it? He's like, choose. Like the only thing that
Yeah.
really creates change is choice. Instead of thinking about what you could do differently, what could you start to choose differently now that then would start to lead to the next thing to choose, the next thing to choose, creating this upward spiral of possibility instead of head tripping about coulda, shoulda, woulda, what if, all these things. Choice is what changes, and what could you start choosing today? And Bars Day is free. You can sign up and just watch it. You can
Mhm.
come if you're local to Cleveland, please come out to Emergence of Being. We are going to have practitioners all day doing bar sessions. You can find out more of that about that on emergenceofbeing.com. If you do /possibility, it will bring you to one page that has all the access events, including Global Bars Day. And that way you can also see what else is going on. Because I have a class coming up. Sean and Seven have classes coming up. Heather has classes coming up. So there is a plethora, a smorgasbord of possibility around the theme of consciousness. Oh, we got Mike just commenting saying, was listening to Shannon. How does it get better than this? Shannon is the creator of Talk to the Entities, one of my favorite topics. And we also have Debbie tuning in just saying, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, and Heather reminded me, I have coffee too. So I should totally take a break.
Yes.
Hmm. But if anyone has questions or comments or anything like that, please let us know. And we're talking a lot about Global Bars Day and things like that. But Heather, why don't you give us a flavor of like what is really the gift of access consciousness and what can it do for people? Because Global Bars Day is great. What's access more about as a whole?
Well, I mean, a Global Bars Day is such a celebration of the gift of access consciousness, and I personally can't wait for this day. I'm so excited. I'm going to be part of the ground crew in Houston, running bars and stuff. So
Oh, you're going to be
that's
in Houston?
so exciting. Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
you can
nice.
wave to me in the background.
Yeah, when we see you
But
on the screen, I'll take a picture and I'll send it to you.
please do. I mean, and and one for me, one of the favorite ways to, one of my favorite things to do is to run bars and access body processes. So a whole day celebrating that where I get to hear even more about access consciousness and even more about how the bars came to be from its creators, Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here. I'm so excited for this day. It is like a holiday of consciousness. And
Ooh, I
there's
like
so
that.
many people flying in to Houston from all over for that event where it's being live streamed. And last year, I was in a totally different space in my life, and I just called a friend and I said, "Hey, can we watch this all day and run bars all day?" And we did that. We watched it from start to finish. And at one point, I even ran her husband's bars, and like the dog came in and got some of the energy of the bars, and like there was a lot of receiving going on, but it was like the whole world was so peaceful. I recall driving home from watching the whole 10-hour program and having run or received bars the whole day. And I was like, wow, things are really, really different now.
You know what it reminds me of? There's a book called The Maharishi Effect. And in this book, they had like these monks that would come and meditate in different cities, and you could see that the crime rate and
Uh-huh.
different things would go down. And it's kind of reminding me like we have all these people all over the world that are participating with access bars and access consciousness and all that. So like really ask yourself, like if you came out to a global bars day, whether it's in Cleveland or Houston or just attending online, like just your presence there and willingness to show up, like how big of a contribution could that be to the contagion of consciousness on this planet? Because Dr. Dane talks about it a lot. Like humanity is like in this threshold of the shift of going from the kingdom of me to the kingdom of we. And access consciousness is all about really getting people to have more awareness and choose from places of awareness and abundance and consciousness and choice versus a place of scarcity and a place of separation and solidity. So like just you showing up, like how much are you adding into that collective energy of the earth and humanity demanding change and a different world to be here?
Yeah, I mean, and I talk about it in when facilitating an access bars class is like even just facilitating one session with one person, what does that actually create in the world? And to get a sense of that energetic change, I mean, it's so amazing. And yeah, wow, what can we actually change in the world?
Yeah, because that's really like I said it before, it's like it's not a modality. Access consciousness is a movement. And they even have like this whole Humanities for Futures thing now where there's like it's a nonprofit and it's like buying up rainforests and like and making sure that they can't be destroyed. Like it is a movement to like really shift the consciousness of the planet and make it a sustainable Earth going forward. So I mentioned this because like some people might not want to be a practitioner or anything like that, learn it anyway. Like my wife learned bars. Like she's not a practitioner, and but the beautiful thing is like with so many people, like both my kids took bars and facelift. Like you can exchange it with people in the household. You don't have to be out there like being a professional healer. This is a movement of personal power, empowerment of knowing, empowering you to know that you know is what I was trying to say. Just couldn't quite flow out. And you can use the tools in so many ways, whether or not you're, a medical doctor or a garbage man or anything else. Like these tools can be applied in any area of your life, however your life is showing up to start to create change.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's what it's really all about is like empowering you to know what you know is true. And, really, what if only you know what is going to truly work for you and your body and create a greater future? And it's just so much fun. Check it out.
Yeah. Well, and truly, like you said something great there, like knowing what's true for you, because like as a kid, we are all like taught like who our parents think we should be, or we're definitely taught not like who we shouldn't be. Like, hey, what you're doing is now is embarrassing me, and we need to empower those people's judgments over your being right now. So please be mindful. Like that's what we're saying to our children. Like it sounds gruesome when you say it this way. Like, please stop being you and favor somebody else's judgment. Like what are
Yeah.
we doing? And access is this process of starting to free you from those things that stuck you even pre-verbally, and start to unlock the things that might be creating these limitations, these glass ceilings where you just aren't willing or aren't able to create past a certain point because of this little thing over here that's sticking you. These tools start to unravel from the source and gives you way more possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really, when I first attended bars and the foundation class, which is the class that comes after the bars, it was like it just melted these walls that I had that didn't allow me to see what was actually true for me and what was actually possible. And oh my goodness, I thank my lucky stars every day that
Yeah.
that I discovered this.
I've just, since you mentioned foundation, just wanted to touch on that too. Like when I ended up taking foundation, and foundation is like a 4-day class. It's like we usually have like Friday to Monday. It has a whole bunch of tools in it, and the only reason I originally signed up is because I needed it to keep my facilitator license to teach bars. I didn't even know I didn't know what the class was or anything like that. And you don't have to be wanting to be a facilitator to take foundation. Like I said, this is like all tools that you can use in your life without having to be out there in the professional world. But I will tell you what, I was just sharing pictures with Heather earlier today. When I came down for my first foundation, I was missing my son's birthday, and my birthdays are a big deal in our house. So, like, my wife drove down to Columbus with the kids, ended up bringing cake. So, like, we're having cake after class one day, but the whole point is like I came into that class really just to show up because I thought I needed to, and that class gave tools that literally changed not only the life of me but Ryan and Deanna, who all that we all had gone down there together, Teresa, like everybody that I know that was in that class with Heather, their life has exploded into these crazy possibilities. And so I'm just mentioning that, like, start with Global Bars Day, come out, see what it's about, but know that there's like a whole like smorgasbord of consciousness, and there's also a ton of books. There's like a ton of ways that you can really dive into the world of access consciousness, learn tools, and start applying them for your life to really have a lot more possibility show up in your life.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the books because when I first discovered this, in 2013, I was really like, wow, like really hungry for this. It really touched on everything I knew was possible, but had been kind of elusive in my world. And so I started reading a lot of the books. One of the first ones I read was Magic, You Are It, Be It, Right Riches for You,
Ooh,
which
I love
is
that
a
one.
book that talks about, yeah, it talks about money in a very, very different way, and what if the creation of it and our whole lives could be way more magical and way more fun.
Now I should do a book reading again. Like they only can stay up for like 48 hours, but like Access is really good about if you want to do a book reading, you can do them online even, and you can read like up to a third of the book and have it up for 48 hours, and then just taking it down because you don't want just the books out there. But it is such an amazing gift to be able to offer that and read it. And the last time I did it, I had all kinds of people commenting, getting great value out of the book. And I think it's a lot of fun, like reading through that together with a group and everything like that. So
Yeah.
anyway, thank you for bringing that up. Just for you. That's probably my favorite money book, other than the How to Become Money Workbook, which is a whole thing on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so there's like it's the Access Consciousness books, you can find them in the Access Consciousness shop or, they're on Amazon.com or whatever. But, they're amazing treasures. I mean, you could pick up any one of those books. And Hank mentioned earlier Dr. Dane Heer's book, Being You, Changing the World.
Mhm.
And I mean, if you read that cover to cover, your whole life would change.
I literally have gone through it at least 20 times because I have it on
I mean,
Audible.
that's amazing.
And every time I listen to it, there's like some part that I'm listening, like, was this always in the book? Like, I swear I did not hear this
Totally.
before. And I swear that the book's different every time I read it. But I mean, we're different every time we listen to it or every time we read it. So, like, you're going to pick up different things based on what's most relevant for you. So, even if you've read an Access book or if you've gone to an Access class, I'll mention this because it's kind of the energy of where I'm going with it. Things change in the world so much that you want to keep on exposing yourself to these tools of access. And Access Consciousness literally rewrites their manuals at least once a year. They have, just like there's Global Bars Day, they have Global Foundation, they literally go through the manuals and say, was this still relevant today? If not, what is more relevant today? What has the possibility to help change the planet more? And they swap out and create different content about what's most relevant in the world. Imagine if our governments did that. Like, hey, let's redo the
Oh
government
my
this year
gosh,
based on
yeah.
what's showing up in the world, or school systems, or anything like that. Because we're everything is always changing, but we are so slow to change. But Access is like the opposite. They're like on that. What do they call it? There's like a whole group, the cutting edge of consciousness. Am I thinking of the right one?
The creative
Cre-
edge, yes.
Creative edge of consciousness. Like there's a whole monthly group you can be in with that, and that's like all about like really where's the world today? What are the tools of today to create more, and always being on that cusp of change instead of being at the effect of it after, if you weren't paying attention and you're trying to not change, eventually the tsunami's going to hit you and you're going to go whether you like to or not. So like really, what would it take for you to consciously be choosing now and be on riding that wave instead of getting run over by the wave?
Yeah, or enjoy the wave.
Or enjoy the wave,
Have fun
right?
with it.
Definitely. So anything else come to mind that you really are wanting to share with people about Global Bars Day, about Access Consciousness, about anything at all that feels relevant?
Well, I'm so excited to be joining you again in Houston. I mean, not in Houston, in Cleveland. Where am I going?
Well, I would like
So
to go to Houston though. I hear the weather. I'm such a cold baby now. Like I lost all this weight and now like normally I could go out and I'm like fine. And I was wearing like 3 or 4 coats yesterday and I was like freezing 2 minutes outside. I was like, oh man, Houston's sounding really good.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm super excited to be in Cleveland next month. It's going to be February. Gosh, what day is it? February 18th to the 21st for the foundation.
Yep. And that's the
So
4-day class.
we'd like to meet in person, come out and play, come to the Emergence of Being where I'll be facilitating this class for 4 days. You do have to have had an Access Consciousness bars class beforehand. So there's a couple possibilities for that locally in Cleveland or,
Yeah,
other online possibilities. But
we have a
you could
class
reach
coming
out
up.
to either of us.
Yeah. Oh, I think a week from Saturday, we have a bars class at Emergence of Being in 7, and Sean Phillips are facilitating that. So, but first step is choose more of you today. And one way you can express that choice is also coming to Global Bars Day. That's this Saturday at Emergence of Being, or wherever you are in the world. I put it in the link in the comments. I commented it on all the platforms. I'll just put it up here. So you see it's accessconsciousness.com, all this stuff, but it's in the comments. You can just click it, but it will show you from all over the world, like where are these local places that are running bars, because it's all free. You can come in and just choose to receive more consciousness and more of you by going and having your bars run. I've said the story before. The first time I ever had my bars run, Ryan Dean gifted me a session because he basically fell into bars because of a class I was hosting for someone, and then I double booked myself. I couldn't be there for my own class. I will never do that to you, Heather. I don't want to double book myself when you're coming in. But he ran my bars. I literally woke up like an hour later drooling myself, and I felt amazing. I had so much space. I'm like, whatever just happened, I need to learn how to do this. And then I went out to become a practitioner and then a facilitator. And now I host people like Heather to bring in these other classes that certified facilitators can teach that are all around the world with access consciousness, just bringing more of that possibility to everyone. Yeah. Cool. Heather, thank you so much for being here and doing this again with me. I'm looking forward to having more live streams with you.
Thank you.
All right. Till next time, everyone, have a wonderful day, and we will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.